Hey folks, this is Tully and welcome to another game dev stream. Today we're coming back to look at some enemy variants. So yesterday we had done a bit of work to make it so that the enemies could actually basically move around and exist within the fog. Before, if the tile had not been revealed on our map, the enemies wouldn't move. But we've changed it now so that the enemies actually are able to move and essentially fade in and out of existence as they enter and exit tiles that are revealed versus unrevealed. And today we're going to make it so that works for all enemies, because technically right now this only works with the mini slimes. And I would like to have it so this works with all variants of all of our enemies. And to be fair, this is something I've been wanting to do for a little while now, is just hook it up so that there is one base enemy prefabs and all the other ones are based off of it. So if we take a look, I think Mini Slime is probably going to be the right one to start with, because it has most of the functionality for the fog stuff. Well, it has all the functionality for the fog stuff, but it also has the kind of most general base. Like, Mini Slimes are where we start with a lot of our combat. It's like our first enemy, so making it our variant I think makes sense. So we're going to drag this out. We're going to put this in the scene at 0, 0. We're going to make sure that that is in the right location. It is. And we're going to, I think, completely unpack this prefab so it's not linked to the mini slime at all anymore. This is now a new object that has no references to any prefabs. We're going to modify this one a little bit so it can be a little bit generic. We might want to do this a little bit differently. Let me try this again. So if we bring this out, technically speaking, most of these things are moves. So this is an AI move. This is an end of turn, which is part of the prototype system. So if we break this completely, we're going to lose references to all of these subcomponents. Is there a way to unpack this such that it remains unconnected but keeps all of its underlying pieces? Oh, interesting. This section is now... Oh, we had made the sprite its own prefab. Okay, so then yeah, I think this is in a state that we're looking for. Cool. Let's use this as a starting point. We're going to remove a bunch of these behaviors that we don't need in the base variation. For example, technically the base one won't need any attacks at all, but it will need the ability to move, to spot the player, end the turn, and I don't think it needs any of these attacks. It will need the alert, won't need this. I don't know what stun alert is. This is going to be a good cleanup, I think. I am not seeing stun. Oh, here. It's part of the state machine for the unit. Let's do a little bit of digging. Why do you need a stun alert ability, and where does that get used? Here. What is this? This just inflicts stun on itself for 2 turns? And this does this on update if it finds that its next attack has no ability and it shouldn't move. Okay, so if it ever has no action to perform and it's not allowed to move, we say that it stuns itself. Yeah, fine. We can keep that around. Wait is also necessary, similar to move. And then I think we can actually remove become invisible and invisible, because I've actually reworked this since we last showed it on stream yesterday. And I think this would be a good base for an enemy. Base enemy. So at this point, it does not have many abilities designed inside of itself. We can remove this one, we can remove this one, and we can remove this one, and then this one. So it just has under its ability section move, end turn, and alert. Feels a little weird to me that the move ability isn't its navigation. Did we change that for some of the other characters? No. Interesting. Sorry, small tangent, but I just want to double check. How does navigate to tile work again? Because this performs an ability, does it just use the unit move ability? It doesn't actually check the navigation. We did it in a different way than how I remember. Okay, so then this all seems good. We're going to have this be the base behavior of all enemies, which is just to chase the player. And I think this is a good representation of a most fundamentally simplest version of an enemy we can get. We no longer need these. I think all three of these functions have basically ended up being the same once I had refactored a bunch. So I think I'm also going to quickly just clean this up a little bit more from yesterday's work. This is set reveal. Actually, I'm going to save this in the state. We're just going to get rid of this function. Okay. And that should be a good starting point. So we're going to drag this into the prefab folder for enemies. We're going to put it in its own folder called base. Cool. And then we're going to create variants from base to build up all of our other existing enemies that we've had up to this point. So we're going to make a new mini slime that will be based off of the base enemy. I'm going to just make a variants folder so that we don't run into conflicts with the old ones. And so now this mini slime needs to be identical to the mini slime we already have, while we basically just need to rebuild it. So what was this one doing? This one... Oh, did we keep the shadow actually? We did, right? Yeah, I can see it here. Cool. So it remembers its shadow. So this only has chase as its only ability. What was this one's pattern doing? It was doing randomize into either AI dash attack or AI chase, and dash attack was doing the most basic AI attack. So if we copy this, bring this into here, make this a element of its aggressive pattern, give it this as another option in its choices here. And then we need to get the AI attack ability. Bring that into here, and then hook that up to this. And in theory, that should be all we have to do to make this enemy behave like the mini slime. It has the initial stats of a mini slime, so we don't need to change that. The only thing that we're really adding back from what we essentially just removed is the attack. And then all the other attacks aren't necessary, and really were just for prototyping. So I think this is good. We should, in theory, be able to test this now. So if we delete this base enemy, we go to mini slime, we remove the addressable ID from it, and then make this the new addressable ID for mini slime, we should be able to see it load into this version of the map. Now, the reason we're doing this is because in the future, if I ever want to modify the behavior or fundamental setup of an enemy, I want to be able to do that in this base prefab and have it ripple out to all the other ones, which is going to be very helpful. Ooh, we got the bad state. Actually, I'm going to test this. I want to know what's going on here because they are constantly bumping into each other and not moving. I wasn't able to reproduce this yesterday. And so we're going to derail a little bit, and we're going to try and figure out what's happening with the AI's behavior, because I haven't been able to reproduce this since we saw it on stream yesterday. So derail. Let's go look at the AI director. And we're going to start at the very top before working our way down. So when it plans for the AIs, it's going to loop through them, and it's going to try and figure out what they want to do next. And I want to look at the base plan of attack, and then we'll dig into what's causing them to be broken. Oh, okay. I was like, are we just not hitting that breakpoint? But it was just taking a moment for Visual Studio and Unity to connect. So at this point, we've evaluated the state. What is the next plan of attack it would like to do? It would like to have no ability, but it would like to move to a target square of 6, 8. Okay. And then the other one, oh, we didn't put the breakpoint in the right spot. But I want to see what tile are they currently on. This one, oh, that's, don't interact with that. If we, don't interact with that either. There we go. If we click on this mini slime, this one's on position 6, 9, and this one's on position 6, 8. Okay. Is there any good way to tell these apart? I guess we can check out what its current tile is. Yeah, we should be able to tell that from the unit. So let's put this breakpoint in here. And let's move one more time. So at this point, unit mini slime that is on currently tile 6, 8 is planning to go to 6, 8. Interesting. Okay, so it thinks it can't go anywhere. And I'm going to guess the other one is on tile 6, 9. And it's planning on staying exactly where it is. Yes. Okay. So they're not moving is the problem. It's not that they're trying to move to the square that their friend is on. It's that somehow they're stuck in a behavior where they can't figure out how to get around their friend, it seems. So let's take a look at... It's not actually going to be in the attack state. It's actually going to be in the patrol state. when it tries to find a path to the patrol tile. It does not validate if it has someone already on it. Okay, so we're gonna need to add some logic to see if the tile they're trying to reach is the same, or is a tile that has an enemy on it. I want to just also dig into this a little bit while we're currently in this broken state, just to see what is happening. So we're looping through. We have found a tile, or we're setting found tile to false before we go into this search. We're currently on tile 6-8, and we're going to try and find the patrol tile of 6-11. So we're trying to reach 6-11, and we want to find a path to that location. Okay. Inside of here, as long as found tile is false, we're going to check to see if the tile we're currently searching through is the tile we're trying to reach. And if it's not, we're going to decide whether or not to add that tile to the list of other tiles to search. And that tile just needs to be walkable and unrevealed in order for it to be a path that we can continue on. So if we get out of this, we never call move towards patrol tile. Huh. Oh, I see. Okay, so this function in here is going to do the search. And we should be able to check patrol tile, which is the tile to check, and this should have some sort of path backwards. It actually does. So it knows from tile 6-5, which is the tile it's trying to reach in this situation, that it would want to go from there to its previous, and then it's going to go backwards until eventually, hopefully, it finds the tile the enemy is on. Ah, I see. It can only see that it can move. Okay, I got it. So essentially, you know what, let's paint this real quick. Basically what's happening is the AI is here. We've got AI number 1, and then we've got AI number 2. And AI number 2 is trying to get to this target square. This is where it wants to reach. And because when we search across the board, we only check to make sure that the tile is walkable, we don't actually check to make sure the tiles that we progress through don't have another unit in it. So when it searches this path, it checks and it like basically checks each tile around it, like going outwards. And then as it reaches each destination, it checks the next tile around it, and will search from each one, essentially like a breadth first search, I believe. I think it's breadth first, not depth first. It's been a while since I've thought about the terminology for these algorithms, but essentially we find that this is the path by searching outwards node by node, adding each one that is next to it in an orthographic direction. It eventually finds this is the path. And because it didn't know this tile wasn't walkable, because we're not invalidating it when it has a unit on it, it means that it wants to try and walk on this path. But when it checks to actually perform the path down here, it does make sure that that is one of its movement options. But I think the movement options are smart enough to figure out, actually, this tile is occupied, so don't let this be an option for this enemy. So it only sees these ones as valid, And so of these ones, the only one that makes sense is for it to stay where it is. So we need to change the search so that when it does this searching outwards around itself, it doesn't search this one, and instead it will end up searching essentially like this and find the path, and then it will know that it needs to do this. Now, there is a potential problem that if the other AI is trying to get to, say, triangle, it might create another path, and they might, like, get into a weird cycle. We might need more complex logic in order to handle them not kind of getting into a different, weirder infinite loop. But for the time being, I think the main thing is we need to double check to see if the tile, not only is the tile walkable, I'm going to stop debugging. We're going to break this up into multi-lines so it's a little easier to read. But we're also going to check to see argument 2, which is the tile we're checking to walk onto. We want to check is occupied. And in this context, we want to make sure it's not occupied, because we're checking if it's walkable or unrevealed, or if it's not occupied, then add it to the queue. Okay. I'm not sure I can replicate this still, though. Well, now that I know what the problem is, if we just make them equidistant apart, so if we grab these two, spawn 1 and 4, make copies of them, turn off 1 and 4, and then make spawn 6 try to move to 6, 5, or sorry, 6. In this format, they're two different fields. So 6, 5, and then move back to, say, 6, 11. Have it have only 2 patrol points. And then if 7 is doing the exact same thing and they need to be an even distance apart, they are. This one goes to 6, 12, and then returns back to 6, 6. Now we should be able to replicate that bad behavior and have them bump into each other, and ideally they'll walk around each other. Yeah. So this is the problem I was concerned about. They do eventually figure it out, but they kind of have to, like, end up choosing the same random chance for when to, like, turn left and when to turn right, and they can kind of mirror each other somewhat indefinitely. So a more complicated algorithm would be, I guess, like, tagging each tile along that path to say, hey, this is my path and I would like to prioritize it. And then if that path is already prioritized, we deprioritize searching in that direction. It is working though now. They're not getting infinitely stuck. Okay, let's see, can we fight these enemies? So if we alert this one and move away, it should chase us. And then we should be able to fight it with no problems. Cool. So that mini slime is working. I do want to change its behavior a little bit. Inside of AI Chase, this is possible to be chosen at 1 distance. In this situation, we want it to be 2, and we want to change the min distance on this one to be 1 away. So this will only happen when it's right next to the enemy. I don't think I want it to move. How did we set up the big slime so that it doesn't chase you all the time? We override the range to 1 now. Okay. Yeah, I think I like that direction more. I'm originally the enemy could move and attack, but it's just become confusing. And I think I want to try and have it so moving is its own ability that it does on its own, and then it can attack separately. So in this case, chase is one ability and attack is another. Just makes it a little easier for the player to understand what's going on, I think. All of this is in theory, technically, we need to get real playtest data to get a better understanding of what's happening. Oh, that's an interesting bug I had not seen yet. We revealed the tile the enemy was on, and it did not reveal itself. Yeah, I guess that does make sense. How do I replicate that? Because I think if I move... Oh, interesting. So what's happening there is we're revealing the tile that the enemy has left from, but because of the timing of when the attacks are queued, when it checks to see whether or not it should reveal itself, it's seeing that it's going from a revealed tile to a revealed tile and not realizing it itself is unrevealed. Really? That definitely feels like what I did, but that I thought I had covered that situation. That looks to be the right one. Is its sprite turned on? That'll tell me a little bit of information at the very least. It does. So its sprite render now gets toggled on or off in certain situations, so it's just that it didn't perform the move correctly. Let's take a look at what I did off camera yesterday in order to get the sliding working so that they actually fade in and out correctly. I ended up moving it off of the unit themselves and instead moved it into the move ability of the unit. Perhaps there needs to be a little bit more complicated of a setup, but I liked the idea of it not being something that's happening at all times, because in some situations we don't want the enemy to fade in and out. For example, when they're, popping up for the first time. And so this is an example, I think, where even though our destination tile yeah, okay, I see. How do I break this down? What do I do here? Let's see. What's happening is we check the unit and say, are you revealed? If you are revealed, and the tile that you are going to... Sorry, if you are not visible and the tile you're going to is visible, then we trigger the fade as the unit moves. But in this particular situation, we're running into a spot where the tile is being revealed, but the enemy has already initiated its move. And I think the reveal happens first. So because the unit has been set to revealed, it believes that it is visible, and the destination it's going to was already visible. And so it doesn't get into this logic. And so it won't actually fade in. Yeah, there's a weird timing where we're revealing the tile that the enemy is coming from, which causes this edge case where it doesn't actually trigger the fade in. How do we cover for this situation? Well, I think the easiest thing to say is when we set the unit to revealed, perhaps we should not... I'm wondering if there's some sort of like intermediate variable. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, maybe we shouldn't be setting that the unit is revealed. We should be setting that we would like to reveal the unit. It's also possible that my attempt to optimize has just made things worse. Because I didn't want become visible and become invisible to be abilities inside the unit that the unit plays whenever it gets revealed. I want it to be part of the movement, because then we have way more control over the actual actions. So when the enemy moves between tiles, we can better control what's happening. We would have found out from the tile reveal. Yeah, this is why I wanted to keep two different functions, because I think this is where the behavioral difference is going to be important. When revealing as part of a move, that's happening essentially here. This is turning on the unit's visibility. And I think when we reveal via a tile, this needs to be different. If a unit gets revealed from a tile being revealed, I think we need to track it differently. This needs to know that its tile was just revealed. But when its tile has been revealed, that does not mean that the unit has been revealed. I've never done this before, but I think if we construct a new sequence step, which is the fade sprite sequence step, and we pass in the correct information into this, how does this get used? Normally, this one. If we do unit, game object, do a duration of 0, do a target alpha of 1, and we don't really care what the easing is. We can do linear for the simplest. If the tile was revealed, construct the sequence and invoke it immediately. Don't perform a sequence, just invoke this sequence step. Does that work? No, we cannot invoke a sequence step without a sequence builder. Do we care? Does this particular sequence step need a sequence builder? Does it do anything with this? No, in this particular one it does not. So we could invoke it. I've never done this before. We always invoke our sequence steps as part of sequences. I guess there's, well, because we could start a sequence. This doesn't know about Entity Manager? Oh, interesting, because this is part of core. Entity Manager isn't... Huh. Okay, well... Doesn't know about screen controller. I want to finish this thought. So if the tile is revealed, then fade the sprite to alpha 1 basically immediately. Else, if it's not revealed, then we're going to be turning off the sprite renderer, so you won't be able to see it anyways. Okay, I'm doing a couple of different ideas in my head at once. Let's try this version first. So instead of doing the tile reveal tracking, let's just say the still set's revealed the same way, but if a tile is revealed, we're just going to fade the unit up immediately. That might also just solve our problems. Where did Unity go? Unity, come back. It's thinking. It's doing a think. All right. Because my original thought was we could set up another property setter that could check to see whether or not the tile has been revealed, and then we could set up some extra logic inside of the movability to determine, you know, if we're moving and the tile we were on is revealed, but we're not revealed, but the tile we're going to is revealed, then handle that logic. And I kind of like that I could build that in here, but let's start with the simplest version, which is just inside the function, we just make the sprite visible. How does that look? And also importantly, can I replicate this behavior? Not like that. We need to have the enemy be on a tile. There. So we replicated it and it did not fix it. That is because it's still transparent. And its override alpha did not get set. Did I just not save? No, I saved. Huh. I did not anticipate to be spending more time on the fog, but I did think there might be bugs, but I didn't think we'd run into one like this. This isn't the worst. This can be solved. I think if we step forward here, we can reproduce it as well, as long as it moves perfectly straight. So I'm going to put a breakpoint here, and we're going to attach the debugger, and we're going to see what it is doing. Put a breakpoint in here as well. All right, the AI is thinking about things. That's all fair. It's patrolling correctly now. We really don't need any of these breakpoints. Okay, so it believes that its tile is being revealed. So it's going to enable the sprite renderer for it. And because this is becoming revealed, it is going to pass in the game object. And it's passing in the game object because it will store that and then loop through and find the animation from it. Okay. So if we hit forward at this point, it is visible. So it worked that time. Oh, that's unfortunate. That means there's multiple edge cases, and the fix that we did worked because it is covering the edge case I was thinking about. But just a moment ago when we tested, we must have seen a more complicated edge case. No. This is okay. That one worked because it was also going to a tile that was becoming revealed. It was unrevealed when we started. Yeah, okay. Okay, this is, I think, a better situation. We are revealing the tile. It is going to play this fade animation. We're going to see if it plays any other fade animations. We're going to add this breakpoint here. It's hitting this one. It's setting it to be transparent. It's going to wait a frame for that transparency to take effect. Oh. We are hitting another fade effect. What is this one trying to do? This one's trying to target to 1. What was the first one doing? Target 0. Okay, so in this situation, is this the same unit? Let's ask that question real quick, because we do have 2 of them. I should probably turn one of them off. This is going from 510 to 610, so that's heading south. Yeah, this is the same unit, and it's getting 2 different target alphas. Or I'm just wrong? I'm moving on. I think it's fine. I think we may have fixed it. There might still be some edge cases. I will reproduce those edge cases. I cannot speak today. We will reproduce those edge cases off camera. I think there's still potentially some situations I want to cover. I do think I want to have the enemies fading in and out always being handled by the move ability. So if we are in a situation where the enemy is moving and the tile it was on becomes revealed while it's moving to a tile that, like, if we get into weird timing issues, I think I want the move to handle all the fading. I never want it to be handled by the visibility. That way in the future we could have other units that like fade in or fade out in different ways. Having it based off the move gives us the most flexibility. So I think I do want to make a tile revealed check, and then we can check to see whether this unit has been revealed via This is what's setting its visibility via movement. So we kind of already know, sorry, this means that if it is true here, it has its visibility set by tile. Yeah, okay. Yeah, long term, I think I want to have two different types of revealed. I want tile revealed, and then I want actually revealed. And tile revealed will say that this tile, the tile this unit is on, is revealed. And then we can check versus the destination tile and its currently revealed tile and check their two visibilities. And we can check its current visibility, and that will be its actual visibility. This reveal will be unit revealed. And this one will only ever get set by the fade in and fade out, and that'll allow us to cover all the edge cases. I'm not doing that right now. I think I got it. I know what I need to do. Should I just do it? Unlockable characters. I don't know if I got your hydrate. I saw it a while ago, but I have not stopped talking. I'll redeem that now. I'm gonna fix it now. We're gonna just do it, and then we will continue with the enemy variations after. This is slowly becoming more of Enemies in the Fog Part 2, basically a continuation of yesterday's video, but that is fine, really. Okay. So this is going to check the tile revealed. Tiled revealed will be set via this function, which is only called by the tile system. We will not do this invoke of a sequence step. It's possible we don't want to be turning on the sprite renderer here either. We should be letting the move reveal handle that. Yeah. Let's just keep working through it. I think as I build it, I will realize a better way. I think I'm still going down the wrong path here. But it's going to be faster just to kind of make mistakes and figure it out. So this is going to check the destination tile's visibility. This is going to check the current tile visibility. And this is going to check the attacker, essentially the unit that's moving, whether or not it's visible. These three properties need to be used as part of this system as well. So here, this is saying that you need to have the tile you're going to not be visible, and the unit is not visible. Or sorry, the tile you're going to be visible, and the target not be visible. I was thinking we needed to add another conditional property, but This doesn't really matter because now, because we've broken this out into two different pieces, when this is checking whether or not the unit's revealed, this is not going to be changed by the set reveal of the tile? I think this just works. I think just by breaking out the tile to not set the other parameter, which is being used for this logic, this might just fix all edge cases. It's gonna be hard to test them all, but this is breaking my brain a little bit. I think by not having the reveal via a tile change the unit's visibility means that it should fade in every time now. Because if the tile it's going to is ever visible, it will just fade in. And because it's not getting its visibility changed by the tile reveal, it will always be in an unrevealed state, meaning that it will always know that it needs to play the effect when it's moving. Now, if we get into a situation where the enemy is not moving, that's where things get a little bit more broken, I think. Yeah, I think that's the edge case we're not covering. We're not covering a situation in which the enemy is just sitting still. Can we do that with our patrols? There's something in the enemy variant itself, I think. If we go to IT mini slime, something about its patrol state. Is it hard-coded currently? It waits a random amount of turns. But this currently doesn't have any states associated with it. But if we were to add a idle state, then we could control it. This is a private variable. Yeah, we'd need to do public int wait turns, and we need a min and a max version. These get generated when we start the game. Essentially, the state machine will create these states, or I believe it should search for them. So when we try and change states, it'll try and get that state as a component, and if it can't find it, then it'll add it. Yeah, so if we just add a idle state here, add the min and max turns as 1 and 2, now I should be able to change the amount of time that this particular enemy waits at a location. And to kind of test this edge case of what happens when an enemy is revealed and it's not moving, we'll just make this like, honestly, like 100. So when it gets to its target destination, it'll just sit there for 100 turns. And then we can test to see whether or not the fog is working or not. Oh, did it not take mini slime? I'm seeing this. Are we just not entering the idle state currently? Did I bypass it at some point? If it's reached this point, it should go to the idle state. Has this never been working? It's possible I hooked this up at some point and just never actually validated it. Hello, Keith. Hope you're having a good day as well. And unlockable characters with the hydrate. Appreciate. Oh, it's totally not. As soon as we get in here, we immediately change states. Okay. I guess at some point I decided I didn't like the idle, but didn't bother removing its functionality. Okay. We're gonna just make it so it's actual functional. Because I do think we will eventually have situations where we might have the slimes kind of like doing something beyond just like moving back and forth. I'd love to have it so that it actually like, I don't know, plucks berries off a bush or something. Okay, so now that it's just stable. Oh, it does fade in. Interesting. Oh, it's because it's never faded out before. So I was thinking it was going to have its transparency turned all the way down, but because it's never actually appeared or disappeared via the the fade in, fade out, it's actually okay. Oh, cool. Okay, so I think that this is going to actually be really easy. But first, let's turn this back to intro so that when we enter, it will turn on... Let's just make one of these tiles. Let's have it turn on immediately. That way it'll actually trigger its fade out logic. And then it will be invisible, essentially. So it goes invisible, and now it waits forever, and now when I reveal it, it will be transparent? Yeah. So then the fix is not to add more logic around the reveal. The fix is to modify the move. So when we do an AI move, we can simply say that after it has faded out, set the visibility of the unit to unrevealed. And when it is set to unrevealed, it will turn off its sprite renderer, at which point, after that is done, we can do a reset, essentially. So reset sprite fade. So we're going to fade it back up to 1 immediately, with no delay. This doesn't need to be blocking. And then I think we also want to reset the tint as well, the same way we were doing before. And because the visibility has been set before we get here, you won't see the unit turn back on, ideally. So this is resetting the tint. This all looks good. So it only fades in and out as part of its move, and then as part of its move, it will turn off the sprite renderer, and then once the sprite renderer is turned off, it will try to reset it. Ah, it didn't work. My only fear here is that because we turned off the sprite renderer, it won't actually allow us to modify the material, is my thought. So let's take a look at it and see what its current state is. It should ideally be in alpha clip, but that is not possible because it's not visible. We go to the sprite renderer. Yeah, so it's still in a transparent material. and its alpha is still broken. Actually, why can I not modify this to make it actually visible? Oh, because the sprite renderer didn't get turned back on. Okay. Fade out, tint the sprite, fade it down to alpha 0, make this blocking so it won't move on until it's done, turn off the visibility, then on the attacker, the same way we were doing before, set its alpha to 1, linear is fine, and reset the tint. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I just wish it worked more of the time. What am I missing? What am I missing? Again, it's likely that if the sprite renderer is turned off, it won't let me mess with it. That's my best guess. This is fading the sprite because it's about to disappear. Oh, the fading is what we want because at this point it's already past this reset. So we want to see if we can catch this. This is what we're looking for. This is the tile being revealed, so it exists. We move, at which point it should be trying to do a bunch of stuff, but we are currently looking at the attacker, which is the mini slime, and we are trying to fade it to 0, which is what we expect. But we should also see a situation in which our duration is 0, and it will try and create one to fade it back up to 1. So we should see it get in here twice. The first time it comes in, it's setting it to a transparent material, waiting till the end of the frame, then coming in here, and eventually we should see it set the value of the override to 0, at which point we'll see it make sure it's set to 0, and then it will move on. Now we should get into this a second time in theory, because it is now fully transparent. We can see that here. Then we are setting move reveal. We are saying that it is reveal false, so it is turning off the sprite renderer. At which point we should get into here where we're going to set the material to transparent. Ah, okay. I think that's part of it. Target alpha is 1. It should be setting the material's value. I don't know of a good way to check that to see if it's even done. It's doing it twice though, the way we've set this up. but we don't have a great way of telling whether or not it's actually done what we've asked it to. Yeah, this count should not be being modified at that moment. Oh, that's interesting. Does not have a property color on this line where it's trying to be setting its alpha. Yeah, again, I think because the material is turned off, or the sprite render's turned off, it feels like something's happening that's very odd. I do want to fix that bug with the reference counting, essentially. So I didn't even go over this, but the way that we fixed some of the transparency issues we were seeing in stream at the end of yesterday's stream was I essentially added something similar to how you reference count for like allocations and deallocations. I realized it was a similar problem. So every time we try to increment or set the material, I increase the request count for the number of times we've requested this material to be transparent. But this seems to only work actually if we never call transparent twice in a row. Because in some situations we don't set it back to alpha clip. But if we go transparent alpha clip every time, this system was working for me and has been showing good results. But in this particular setup, we're fading down. Okay. I think this fix is fundamentally flawed. We want to be able to know if we're trying to set the transparency. Okay. If we're setting our alpha to 1, we want to go back to alpha clip material. As long as nothing else is using the transparency currently. If we are not setting it to 1, we just want to decrement the count because we want to make sure that every time we increase this, we decrease it later. Doesn't really matter, but I'm going to be consistent with my setup. Why does that look weird? Which one's right? Which one do I normally do? There's not a right or a wrong answer, but like... It's fine. Something's like making me feel like there's a right call there, but I can't remember like coding 101 from 15 years ago. Oh god, it's more than that now. I feel like one of them's slightly slower, or I could just be making that up. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. Okay, so I don't even think that's going to fix our problem, though. Because the issue we're seeing is not even that it's not going back to alpha clip. It's that with the sprite renderer turned off, we get like a weird error. So the unit is fading. We're saying that it's revealed. We're coming into here. We're going to try and set the value of the material. That was fine. It seems to have succeeded at that. Then we're going to do it again here. No errors. And then because we're going to try and come into here, we should see that our count is 0, so we will actually allow it to go back to alpha clip. Okay, no errors this time. Did the sprite actually get set correctly? Mini sprite, or mini slime. Sprite renderer, sprite renderer. It is turned off still, which is correct. And it is set to alpha clip. Okay. So now the problem is it's just not calling this function. This didn't get called. Otherwise, I do think this is working correctly. So why is that tile... not alerting the unit? Don't need as many of these breakpoints. So here, this is setting tile reveal. Oh, I see. These are mismatched, I bet. So it's saying it is tile revealed true. We're not even using this in the end though, right? We ended up trying to use it and then realizing we just didn't even need this setup. Yeah. We should be setting the tile revealed to when we move as well. I don't like this system. It's like the fact that I'm having a hard time communicating what I'm doing in terms of like streaming it implies to me that it is overly complicated and could be simplified. But I do not know what that simplification is at this time. Maybe I'll figure it out when I'm not trying to ramble my way through it. Okay, so now does this properly remember that it is on an unrevealed tile? And then when it comes in here, it sees that it's on an unrevealed tile, set that it's being revealed, and then enable the sprite. Yes, it does. The problem now is that it doesn't realize it's revealed in this particular edge case because it wasn't moving. And so the move has never called. So if I do this, oh, interesting. I would think that it's in a weird state, because it probably never set revealed. It only set the tile revealed version. When this AI performs a move... Oh no, it thinks it's revealed. When did this get set? Oh, you know what I bet it did? I bet you it did think that it wasn't revealed. And then did a fade in, fading in from... No, fade in triggers itself to go back to 0. Why did that not break? I would have thought that this should have had an issue where when we revealed the enemy and it wasn't moving, the next time it moved, it would do a fade in. But it didn't do that. So it's saying that it is not revealed. It is still not revealed. Can I please drag this window, please? Thank you. Eventually it stops moving. And then when I reveal it here, set tile revealed, this is saying that it has been revealed via the tile, but actually revealed is still false. Okay. And now the first time it moves, it's... When did you change? Who changed you? Okay. I missed this when I was refactoring stuff. But when we reveal a unit and play the spot ability, which only happens when you reveal the tile that that unit is on, it sets this revealed value. These are doing the same thing. Yeah. So this is essentially saying the unit is revealed. This is such a mess. I think it's fine though. I think it's working. I'm gonna have to just leave it and we'll have to test more, but I think we've covered all the edge cases now. Really wish this wasn't frying my brain. Let's delete all these breakpoints. And in fact, let's stop debugging too. Okay, so now it has disappeared. And when we come over and we reveal it, it comes up revealed. That's good. It's what we want. And if we go into the mini slime, change its wait time to something like 3, so we'll actually see it move again. I'm curious if it properly fades back in, because we know now that if it fades out and then gets revealed manually by, or revealed by its tile entering, it works, but does it work when we actually have it walk back in? And the answer seems to be yes. Okay, I wanted to overshoot that tile. So let's go back one more tile so we see it fade in and out. And then I want to do some tests where we reveal the tile it's moving to or moving from. I don't know. I just want to test every edge case we can. Yeah, that worked. I think we've covered them all. I don't think I can hold all the information in my head. And I think it's a bit convoluted and unnecessary in a lot of ways. Like, I don't know if we even need a tile revealed concept as much anymore. Yeah, that worked. But maybe we could distill down what we've built to a better version. Yeah, that worked too. Okay, so it like sometimes it pops in a bit, but that's kind of what I want. If it's coming up on a tile that's being revealed, I'm fine with it like essentially sliding up with the tile. We can double check that to see if it looks weird when we slow the game down, which a player wouldn't be able to see naturally, but unless they have really good eyes, I guess. But if we slow things down... Oh, okay, so in this situation, that isn't quite what I want. Then what do I want? I guess the question is, why is it not moving with the tiles? Like, if I'm revealing the tile... Should it not be sliding up with these tiles? Why is it moving but is not parented to the object? Because its Y position should be locked to the Y position of whatever it's walking on. So if we look here at the mini slime, it's currently on this tile, it's underneath this tile holder, and it has a Y of 0. If we move this tile holder up and down, we can see its shadow is moving up and down. So if we slow the game way down to like 12 times slower, at this point, it's already kind of snapped. It's underneath this fold floor holder. And it has no Y value. But as this thing moves up and down, shouldn't it move with it? And it does. So then if we take one single step forward, this has changed, but I'm not seeing this change. Oh, maybe it is? Oh yeah, this is moving. Is it somehow offsetting its position? Yeah, it like snaps up for a moment and then goes back down again. This was working yesterday. We had these sliding up with the tiles. This is going to be the bane of my existence. This is no longer to do with the like state of the unit in terms of visibility though. This is more to do with the parenting. So we parent it immediately, and then we move to this tile, which should be changing the transform of this object. Are we zeroing out? We zero out the Y here when it finishes moving, but we should be at this point. So if we go here and take a look at this breakpoint, it should be going to the tile's center. Oh. Yeah, I see the issue. That's interesting, actually. We changed... We changed what this floor holder destination was yesterday when we were messing with allowing the unit to be outside of the object that was disabled at the start so that we could actually have its scripts run. So this is the thing that's moving up and down essentially, but we changed it so that the actual floor object parent is this thing, which is not moving. And in other locations, in order to kind of hacky fix this, where did we do it? Am I losing my mind? We 100% modified this. Oh, wrong one. We want the... Oh, is there really two versions of this? This one we modified to be transform.parent in a bunch of locations. Why is there two variations? Oh, the animation has a floor object destination. This is the floor object parent. Which one are we using? When we do that tile.center, it's using the tile animation's floor object destination. Interesting. So it is actually using this one's Y value. Okay, so it's not to do with what we did yesterday. I want to see what's happening in slow motion. So this slime is trying to move its movement position here. And its Y value is changing. But this is a positive number that is going down to 0. And it is trying to track itself to this floor destination, which is a negative number that is becoming positive. So every time it moves between the two tiles, essentially. If I was to set this to 0, yeah, that moves it down to be on top of the tile where I would expect it. But this destination is being changed. No, that... Is it because we're lerping? From this start position? I think it's because we're lerping from the start position, which is in like really high, basically. This start position is set. I don't know what the implications here are. What if we lerp from our center tile? That way, if the tile we're entering from... the tile we're entering from is also sliding up. We should kind of slide up with it. Yeah, it's going to vary depending on how each of these is moving individually, but that looks better. The question is that a global change we can make, or is that going to break in other situations where the tile isn't moving? What about if it's going from a revealed tile to an unrevealed tile? It doesn't look that bad. Because this is moving during the lerp, it doesn't go snap right down into the floor. It's still slowly moving down into the floor a little bit and then slides back up. So that's not too bad either. Maybe in that situation it would be better if we just stayed level. But honestly, changing the floor position isn't going to do anything in that situation because it's what we changed is already stable. Yeah, and in that situation, this moving up slid this enemy over a little bit, but I think overall this is just better. I think we shouldn't be saving our original start position. We should be lerping. This one can be special, but this is basically when we're doing an off-grid move, which is when we're going to a position that doesn't actually have a tile associated with it. So this one can remain the same. But in this situation, I guess there's maybe a world in which we don't have a current tile. We might want to catch this as well. If we don't have a tile we're heading to, and the unit's current tile equals null. So if we have a tile we're going to and our current tile does not equal null, then I would like to lerp between my current tile center to my new tile center. Which is going to cause us to clip into the floor a little bit, but will look slightly better when we are specifically revealing the tile the enemy is on and the tile they're going to at the same time. Which is, with the way that we've built now, the unit moving in the fog is much more likely to happen. Because before, we would essentially only ever have them moving... Well, no, they would never remove. There was no way to possibly have them move in this same way, which is why we never ran into this as a problem. The only time they would ever reveal was when you brought up the tile that they were sitting stationary on, at which point they would just like spot you essentially. But now that they can move in the fog, we have to cover for this case where the tile is moving. And this still works. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I'm happy with this. I think we've covered all the edge cases. It moving and appearing is all working correctly, and this isn't even what I wanted to do today. I wanted to make more variants, and we have done that. The mini slime is working correctly. Now I would like to make the mini slime tutorial. So we're going to create another prefab variant. This one will be a variant of the mini slime, and this will be the tutorial version. What was different in the tutorial version from the base one? I think it was just... its loot table was guaranteed to give you a strength node. Ooh, that's something we didn't change in here. This loot table should be empty to begin with. So when we save that, that's going to update for the mini slime as well. I'm going to remove this. We don't need it. Yeah, and now its loot table is empty, but we actually do want to set this one up. So when we make a new enemy, we want to make sure that we grab its loot table. So this one had these 3 entries. Can we copy the item drops and paste this whole array? We can. Perfect. Yeah, see, right now this is all using this steel chest prop loader for the items that are dropping. I'm going to want to change the system so each crystal has its own image associated with it, and it's going to be much easier now in the future because we'll be able to edit it here, and all enemies will have the functionality modified. Okay, so this has its own loot table for the mini slime, and then the mini slime tutorial, I think the only difference between it and its parent is going to be that it will just have a single strength node as its primary piece. Was there anything else that this thing had that was different? I don't think so, because even its behaviors were identical. So that should be okay. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to make the normal slime variant. So we're going to create another prefab variant. We're going to call this one IT slime. And we're going to bring this into here. Now, what makes this one different? This one has a slightly different attack pattern. It randomizes into, right now, only AI smash. Okay, so we come in here, we give this AI smash. We go to the slime, save this. We want to grab the AI smash ability. We come into here, drop that down there, reference it in this one, and then we're going to hook up randomize so that it tries to chase if the enemy is right now any distance away, but I think we're going to want 2. And then if the unit is exactly 1 tile away, then the AI smash can be picked, and it is a stationary attack, which I think means the enemy gets stunned if the player moves away when it's trying to perform it. I don't actually think this works anymore since we've added the attack of opportunity, so I don't think that matters. Is stationary, can be left on. For its loot table, we'll leave it as empty for now, because I don't know what the loot table for this guy looks like. And then what was the slime version, the tutorial version of this guy? I actually think he ended up being identical in the end, because we made this one only have smash, basically. I'm going to make a variant of this just so that we're consistent with the setup, but we may not need a tutorial version. But I don't think it hurts to have it. And now we need to make sure to copy all of these addressables over so that they now retarget to these enemies. So this becomes slime. And this simplifies them greatly too, because there's so much like dead logic inside of some of these. What is this one? Oh, because I clicked on the wrong one. Copy here. Okay, so none of these should have addressables associated with them. Each of these should. Okay, so I think that covers the slimes. Now we need to make a variant for the boar. So we're going to, again, go to base, create a prefab variant. We're going to name this IT boar. And then the boar, what made it different from other enemies? It had an ordered pattern. So it did ordered, and that ordered one would do a charge into a smash. We need to do a pass on this at some point. But for now, let's just have it do the same thing. So it'll do ordered. And I want to just copy all that logic, I think. So we're going to save this. We're going to copy smash and charge, which are really just using the same AI smash ability. And all this other stuff doesn't matter. Open this up, paste these in, drag them to the bottom just for consistency. Please drop them to the bottom. Thank you. And then these two actually go in here and get referenced by this one. And did these keep their references? They did. Good. And this can be renamed. So we're essentially not using these bottom two. We do this because we want to have a reference to the pattern, I assume. Do we just reference aggressive pattern somewhere in here as part of its state machine? No? I bet you this is just like a get somewhere. Yeah, the state machine just gets the component in children. I might want to change that to be a direct reference because of the way that these are being built. Okay, so this is fine. And that should be the boar. And then we just need to change it. Grab this value, untick, go here, change this to that one. And we need to also be changing the sprites for each of these. I have not been doing that. We've been changing their behaviors, but we have not been changing their animations. So this one should be a boar. We'll let it have sprite 0 for default. Slime needs the slime animation, and it can have this as its default value. Oh, it's not slime. Is it bubble slime? It is bubble slime. Okay. And then because this is a variant of the tutorial one, it gets the modifications I made to its parent, so that's good. And then last one, we're going to create the bat, which we're not currently using, but may start to use soon here, because I'm feeling like I just want another enemy type long term. I will leave its behaviors alone because I don't know what I want it to be doing, and we never really adapted the main one. And we just need to make sure to change its sprite to use the bat. Animations, use this controller, and you can have the first frame. I'm also going to change the base one so it just looks like the mini slime by base, because I think it'll be clearer than when we forget to modify this. Perfect. And then we can, I guess, test this by going to combat grounds, because this has all the enemies, or at least all the ones that aren't tutorial variants. Oh, interesting. Oh, it's void bat, not regular bat. Oh, we just didn't copy its addressable. We're just going to disable all of them. And this is why we want to set them all up to be based off of a base version, because I guess the Void Bat was missing a reference to some object we need for this system to work. That is not the guy I thought we were using. We want the one that... that Drixie set up. That base bat is off of some Unity Asset Store pack. I think the boar is too, to be fair, but Drixie did some work making a cooler bat that I want to use. Yeah, this one's cooler. I think she literally just like collapsed the face. But it's neat. Alright, so now hopefully all of these enemies are fightable. Looking good. Did see an error. What was the complaint? Loot out of range. Interesting. Did we give all enemies at least one entry then? I don't remember doing that, but it's very possible I did. Oh, we had not given them loot. AKA the component. Only the mini slime had it before. But because we've given it to base enemy, now they all have it. So wherever that problem was here, we just need to not... return something? Can we not return something? Where does this happen? On defeat. Yeah, we'll do it here. We'll check and see whether or not the item drops list count is greater than 0. Actually, we can just do equal 0 and then return an empty string, which it'll see as empty and then return out of this function. So it at least won't complain when we kill an enemy that doesn't have any loot in its table. I think all enemies will eventually have loot, but probably not a bad idea just to have that safety check. Well, this took longer than I thought, but I think we have set up a proper chain of prefab variants for our enemies so that they all come from one base one. And surprisingly, there was a good amount of extra work required. We missed one thing here. Even though we are changing the behaviors, we did not change the stats. So last thing is just going to be looking at each of the stats of these enemies. So this was 10, 18, 14, 22. We should be able to just lock this, go to this inspector, and then click on boar, and then just transfer these numbers across so that this enemy has the correct starting values. Same thing with the slime. So we'll relock this, and then... oh, I did this in the wrong order. This one needs to get modified at this time, so this becomes 7, 9, 7, 11, and 100. Okay. So those are the correct stats. I guess the bat never got modified in the first place because we haven't really done a pass on it. But now the boar and the slime should be more difficult. So yeah, between yesterday's stream and today's stream, we have got it so the enemies are mostly flawlessly moving in and out of the fog. There is another thing I'm realizing as we fight this enemy. Each of these had their own special setup for multiplying and staggering, I think. Was that a thing? I'm definitely going to want to keep these prototype versions of the prefabs around as I continue to find more things that I'm like, oh, this is not set up correctly. Or I missed moving this other concept. But I thought we had some sort of system. For tracking how much damage an enemy took from certain types of abilities. Stagger tracker. Yeah. Did we only put the stagger tracker on the mini slime? That doesn't make any sense. I didn't change the anchoring. That's still locked to the wrong one. Okay, yeah, definitely getting tired. Yeah, so each of these had their own stagger trackers associated with them as well. We're going to want to transfer that to the new variants. I'll keep finding more things like that where our enemies had special logic hooked up to them that I'll want to transfer over. But I'm liking this setup. I'm liking the enemies moving in the fog. The thing we didn't get to today that I would like to explore is some different behaviors. So I'd like to try doing a different type of a pattern for this slime where when its stagger meter reaches like, I don't know, 40%, it essentially tries to run away and recover some stagger. Or if it's low on health and there's another enemy on the field that's not engaged, it could run and try and alert that enemy to make the battle go from one-on-ones to multiple enemy fights. And I think that's going to be really interesting to see that happen with the fog. So when you're doing these runs, you'll see the enemy disappear into the fog and then see like an alert symbol of another enemy elsewhere becoming aggressive, and then the two of them coming back to you out of the fog, or if you chase after them, potentially you reveal them. Yeah, so I think that's the next steps, is adding more behaviors so that when we start to get into this section of the game here where it's going to become a little bit more combat focused as we move our way through some of these zones and fight our way past to get to some of the quests and cutscene parts, I want to make it so that the combat stuff is a little bit more engaging with the enemies ducking in and out of the fog. That's the plan anyways, but we've come to the end of the stream for today. We'll be back again tomorrow, same time, 2 to 4. I'm probably going to keep working off camera this evening. I've been doing a fair amount with... I've been liking this one stream per day. I feel like one stream kind of keeps me focused and getting a bunch of stuff done, but leaves me with a lot of things that I feel are incomplete or could be refined. And then the rest of the day just spent cleaning up after myself has been, I think, very helpful for keeping the code maintained. So, yeah, this is where we're at. We'll move into... I'm not sure. We want to finish up chapter 1, so tomorrow I imagine we have to move past this enemy stuff and just continue with more cutscenes, because we've still got a couple more. Maybe this evening I need to finish writing the rest of the scripts. Finish chapter 1 dialogue scripts, because we have kind of caught up and wrote all the cutscenes for all of the narrative I had built up to this point, and I have a broad idea of how the rest of the cutscenes work, but we actually have to write the dialogue for the characters, because that's an important aspect of this. And then maybe tomorrow we'll come back, leave the enemy stuff a little bit for the time being, and work on finishing up the rest of the cutscenes. Might be able to do that in 2 hours, depending on how things go. For now, though, this is going to be Tolhi signing out. Later, folks.